One of my words of the year is attention. I realize how important attention is. I think this has happened over the years and of course with studying, with meditation, with reflection, but attention is literally fundamental to a happy life. And I have been feeling very unhappy lately. Very unhappy, dissatisfied, discontented. And today I was really reflecting like, what happened? Why am I feeling like this? Now, granted, I just turned 31 a few weeks ago, and I don't know if this happens to anyone else, but every time around my birthday, I start to really like a lot of these questions come up for me, like, what is my purpose? Am I living in alignment with my purpose? Am I in alignment with my life's question? Am I actually living a life where when I am on my deathbed that I can really look back at and feel joyful, feel satisfied, feel like I literally have nothing to regret, that I provided happiness and well-being and peace. So today when I was feeling all of this stuff, because this contemplation came up again today, and I was just like, where is the disconnection happening? So I realized that my attention has been so scattered, even though this is my word of the year and I have every intention of realigning with that word. But I was thinking, like, what happened? Where was my misstep? What is not in alignment right now? What is causing this dis-ease in my mind? What is causing this dis-ease in my body? And I went back to my 25-5 rule. So last year I did an action board party, and during this action board party we did the 25-5 rule. We also came up with the word of the year, and we also came up with our life's question. And this was something that, even though we did it last year, this is something that you keep reflecting on as the time goes by. And one of the things that's so cool about the 25-5 rule is that you list everything that is so important to you, like all of your values, all of the things that just feel incredibly important. You list all 25 of those things, and then you create another list which puts them in an order of importance. And so on this list of order of importance, you basically put what matters most for you at the top, starting that way and then kind of making your way down to what matters the least most. And all of these things are on the list because they are important. Like, they are things that you value, they are things that matter to you, they are things that you feel like will give your life value. But when you put them in the order of importance, you only focus on the five things, and these five things become the things that actually matter most to you, the things that you should actually pay attention to, the things that you should actually focus on. And everything else on the list, you avoid at all costs. Even though these things are important to you, you intentionally avoid them because they become distractions. And because we are humans and we have limited capacity, we have limited energy, we have limited abilities just by means of being human. And what tends to happen is we try to do so much. We want to get so much done because so much is important to us. But when I look back on my list, I saw that I have been extremely scattered, and I had went back into, inevitably, just maybe out of habit or just not really being as intentional about my list from a year ago, that I had started to sporadically do so many other things that were not the top five things. This list is not about being a hard ass with yourself, about neglecting what's important to you, not giving, attention, or not being in the flow of what comes up. But the reality is, we don't have forever in this body on this planet. Like, I'm 31 years old now, and that leaves me with about, if I'm lucky and no sudden crises or things happen, that leaves me with about 60, 60 more years on this planet. And 60 years goes by really fast. 30 years went by really fast. And there's a really incredible book that I highly recommend called 4,000 Weeks. And it really puts these things into perspective of time management and how we use our time, and not in the sense of being overtly productive and trying to get everything done, but really paying attention to what matters most, considering that the average human's lifespan is 4,000 weeks, understanding how much more time you literally and realistically have without avoiding the inevitable fact that we don't have forever. And so, anyways, I was looking back at my 25-5 rule list, and I've just been so all over the place. So all over the place. I have things that are important to me, but because I've been so scattered, I haven't really given the attention and focus to any of those top 5 things. For me, like, I'm such a creative person and I tend to be very scattered and have so many ideas and so many things that I want to do. It's really important for me to ground. It's really important for me to have direction. All the other stuff I can come back to later. Like, it's not like I have to forget them forever, but I realized that a lot of my discontentment, a lot of my feeling of dis-ease has been because of my lack of attention. What is important in this very limited amount of time that we have? And I know some people don't like to hear that we have a limited amount of time. I actually think this is one of the most intriguing things about humans, is that we all know that we have a death date, and yet we can go the entirety of our lives avoiding that fact, avoiding actually contemplating that and making this life as useful as possible. So for me, because I know, like, I'm not going to be here forever, and that's okay. I mean, a little bit scary, but it's okay. But how do I really want to spend this time here, and what do I want to focus my attention and my energy on? And that also might change over the years and as time goes. But I think to the degree that we can focus our attention on what really matters for us at a given point in our life is to the degree that we can really maximize our happiness, even our immediate happiness, but especially our higher purpose. Like, even in spiritual teachings and spiritual practices, one of the fundamental things that you do first is attention. Like, all of the things that I have studied over the years, they start with attention. And from when we're very young, we hear, like, pay attention, like in classroom, like, pay attention, like, this is important. But I really don't know that we actually get this deep sense of how crucial paying attention is, and cultivating our attention is, to our happiness. Sometimes we can feel so discouraged by our situation, the reality that we may find ourselves in. We might have goals and dreams and visions and all of these things that we really want to happen, that we really want to do in our life. And we can feel like it's just not working out. Things just aren't going in our favor. The odds are against us. But sometimes it's really just our lack of attention and our lack of focus on the things that we say matter. And it's so easy to get distracted in life. It's so easy to be pulled to so many things because there are so many things. There are so many important things. And there are also so many things that are not so important that just feel good to be distracted in. They just feel good to, it feels good to binge watch the show. It feels good to socialize constantly. It feels good to bury ourselves into things. It feels good to doom scroll. Sometimes distraction can just feel good. But sometimes the things that feel good at first, that give us an immediate sense of relief and that feel good in that moment, they're not really the things that nourish us. They're not the things that actually help us grow, that help us reach our goals, that help us be helpful in the world, that help our personal growth, that allow us to be able to really live the lives that we say we want to live. So for the next half of this video, I am revisiting my 25-5 list. I have the template down in the description below. So if this is something that you feel curious to do, you feel curious to explore, I highly recommend it. And I'm going back to the drawing board because I noticed that I have been feeling this sense of discomfort, discontentment, and not really feeling happy and aligned. I am refocusing my attention. Where is my energy leaking? Where is my attention leaking that I can kind of pull back on and refocus my attention towards the things that really matter most for me at this point in my life.
Okay, let's get into it. So, this is the 25-5 rule template that I made. I love Canva. I love creating things. This was very fun to make. And so I started off with chapter. Like, what am I calling this particular chapter of my life? What am I calling this part of the story? What am I calling this part of the journey? And so this chapter for me is called Alive. Stop Waiting for Friday. This is a card game that I made. This idea of just really being present in life and feeling alive. And so I recognize actually that honestly, for the last year, I haven't quite felt like myself in many ways. Alive for me means really being a participant in my own life, really showing up in my own life, showing up just in life in general where I can for myself, for others. Now, the second part of this template is just life question. So this has been my life question for quite some time. So I just copy and pasted it here. And my life question is, did my thoughts, words, and actions contribute to love and happiness for myself and others? But that question might look different for all of us. So the intention there is to really connect with a question that you would probably ask yourself on your deathbed. Like, in the end, what what question would you really think about when everything is finished? And it's a pretty important ask. Like, it's a pretty big ask. What is my life's question? But I definitely find that reflecting on this as often as possible really brings you back to your direction, really brings you back to being back in alignment with your values. And honestly, I was asking myself this question today, like as of today, not just even at the end of my life, but right now, would I be would I be able to say yes to this question? And honestly, right now, today, my answer is no. And that was pretty scary to look at my life question and ask myself if today in this moment, do I actually feel in alignment with this? And when I said no, I was like, but it's also a good thing because I think this is why it's important to reflect. I think it's important to have things like this to be able to look back on and to be able to check yourself. Because when we go unchecked for too long, then we can really create a lot of unhappiness in our lives for ourselves and also in the lives of other people. Moving on. So, word of the year, like I said, my word of the year is attention. Like, I'm really big on attention this year and just cultivating attention, really cultivating my attention, like through my practice of shamatha meditation and through this 25-5 rule, like really just cultivating my attention and being very clear about what I'm focusing my attention on, training my attention, because attention is really everything. Like I I think that the education, like in education, even with learning things, like even in modern education, traditional education, it's very difficult to succeed, or in anything, it's difficult to succeed when we don't have a strong attention. And the thing is, like, we all pay attention to something. Like, it's not that we don't know how to pay attention. Like, we pay attention to things, but the things we pay attention to mostly are things that are not so helpful to our well-being. And it's because they feel good. They give us nice, pleasant feelings for a moment. So we give our attention to social media. We give our attention to toxic conversations, gossip, to binge watching. We give away so much of our attention. And I think cultivating attention or just becoming aware of how important paying attention is, I think it's pretty life-changing. Like, I think it's a pretty life-changing thing. We hear about attention all the time, but I think with right understanding of attention, that it can really change a lot of things in our life. Let's get into the 25-5 rule. This will look different for all of us. Of course, we all have different circumstances. We come from different places. We have different needs. We have different wants, desires, all the things. So I'm going to, right now, I'm just going to jot everything down in no particular order. And then in a bit, I will kind of reorganize them. I'm going to say healthy relationships, recognizing the dynamic of myself in relationships and communication, emotional regulation, just so many different things that came up for me. Um, Accountability, holding other people accountable, saying, voicing, communicating. And I also think maybe I need to be more specific. What does healthy relationships mean? So I'm going to say kind, reliable, supportive, and honest relationships. Just be a little bit more specific where I can. Okay. And then let's see, what is the second thing on my list? I'm gonna say financial freedom. That's a pretty big one to me at the moment. Daily, daily practice, daily well-being practice. This is a pretty important part of my life. Daily well-being practice. It's the reason why I'm able to keep going when things get tough. It's the reason why I can always connect to a sense of purpose. It's the reason why I think I'm able to have a lot more awareness than I did before. A lot more awareness. I really attribute all of that to my daily personal practice. Sustainable clothing line. I think also sharing the Dharma. I think actually, I mean, I'm gonna put station. Um, so this is also me learning the Dharma that one. So it doesn't make sense to share something that I don't even understand. What else? Gosh, the pressure is on. I'm only on number 6 and I'm like stuck. Pretty simple person. Pretty simple person, I think. Marriage. Oh, marriage and family. I'll put marriage and, yeah, marriage and family. That feels pretty important to me. Um, I would also say, mm, I've been struggling a lot with my skin. I don't know how to put this in a more holistic way. I mean, I guess I don't really skincare and healing my skin, like to host a retreat. I actually would like to host, yeah, one retreat annually, one wellness retreat annually. Okay. What else? Would like to learn span. Okay, learn Indonesian language, learn fluent Indonesian and Spanish. Plus my whoever my husband's is. I'm gonna put plus mystery language. Whoever my husband is, if he is not just an English speaker, but I would really love to also learn my husband's native tongue. So far, kind, reliable, supportive, and honest relationships, financial freedom, daily well-being practice where I'm studying, reflecting, and meditating, sustainable clothing line. I live pretty, I'm actually, this is something I'm already doing, and it will be very interesting when I put this in order to see if this is something that I should be doing. If it lands on my top five, I'm doing it, but it might be a distraction. It might be something that is not necessarily what I'm supposed to be doing at this point. Sharing the Dharma, marriage and family, skincare, and healing my skin. Host one wellness retreat annually. Learn fluent Indonesian and Spanish plus mystery language. I think also this seems like very small, but I'm gonna put wake up at 5 a.m. My last one had 4:30 a.m. because typically when I go on 10-day silence retreats, we wake up at I'm gonna put 4:30 a.m. Like I still struggle a lot to get up at 4:30 for whatever reason, but when I go on 10-day silent retreats, we have to be up at 4 a.m. and I'm up, like I'm up, I'm ready. But for some reason, I lack the control, the self-control to be able to do that on my own. So it really, and I genuinely feel good the earlier I wake up. Like I definitely feel this momentum behind me when I'm able to wake up earlier. So this is actually, yeah, this is a goal of mine. Um, what else? So at this point, you guys get the point of what the 25 list is. So the 25 things that you should list, the things that are important to you. And as you can see, this can be a little bit of a challenge, at least for me, because you start to think of very big things. It's like a pretty big question, like what is most important to me in my life? What 25 things? And so it can almost make you feel stuck or intimidated. So for me, I had to zoom out a little bit as well and just kind of bring it back down to earth. So I'm going to finish the rest of this list offline, and then I'll come back when I'm ready to reorganize the list and put them in order of importance.